Boop. Like this, like that. All right, we should be live here. Welcome, let me slide over. Welcome to OnSet. I am Daniel Norton. Seth came in and got us going. Yeah, it looks like it's live. Got us going, but then he had to take off for a shoot, so he is not on the Mighty Mix. I do have Marissa getting ready, and we're kind of on our own, so if we're a little bit clunky, forgive that. I will try to check the messages as we go, but if this is your first time here, you may want to subscribe. We are live every other Thursday, and on Thursdays when I'm not live, the one, the only Gavin Hoey is live a little bit earlier in the day. So subscribe to the channel if you're new. Today we're going to talk a little bit about mood and lighting. Let me know about my audio and stuff, guys, too, because I'm kind of on my own here. The last one that we did, we talked about color and also environment, right? Using a plain space like this, but to have it feel like there's an environment. So I'm going to do the same thing again. We're not putting up a lot of fancy backgrounds, although we could do that. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about how we can achieve mood and feel using light, basically, and shadow. And, you know, a lot of it's very subtle. So we're going to kind of work with our light. We're going to work with kind of the difference between light in the background, not light in the background, and maybe a little color. I will try to go over all the gear I'm using as I go. If I am using something and you don't know what it is and I didn't say what it is, please ask and I will let you know. And Marissa! All right, let me see if the audio is actually working. Good evening, audio is good. Okay, perfect. Chicago, we got people from all over the world. That's pretty awesome. Now would be a good time to insert ads. No thanks. I don't know if I'm supposed to insert ads. Does Seth normally insert ads? We're not inserting any ads. All right, let's just do this. All right, guys, so like I said, I will check. Let us know where you're from. I see people from all over the world. Gift you that light. This is a great light. All right, so again, I'm going to start. This is Marissa, by the way, if you don't know. And we're going to try to create some various moods. Luckily, I have an actress. That always helps, right? And we're going to start off by using one light, and then we'll build up as usual. I'm going to use flash today for the most part because I forgot to take the other lights out. We're kind of in a rush. But no. And what I'm going to start with is this here. This is a Profoto B10, which is a 250 watt second flash. It's battery powered. I'm putting it into this Shimera lantern. A lantern is effectively the type of light that you often see used if you're doing like interviews and stuff. You put them up to kind of light up a whole space. But I love the look of a light from a lantern. It spreads out, it's very kind of creamy, and you have a little bit of control, but not a lot. So it's kind of all over the place, which I think makes it a good light to start with. It's a little bit less directional, in my opinion, than an average softbox because of its design, which can work well if you're just working with one light. So we're going to start off here, and the wall behind us, what we're going to use is just white. We're going to kind of let the light in the space fall off, and we'll go from there. So let's just start there. So let's have you over here, Marissa. Sorry, I put the light right in Marissa's spot. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do before I start is I'm just going to grab a sandbag because I know I'm going to need it. All right. Okay, so what we want to do when we're starting out here is we want to establish that all the light in the space, or that all the light in the shot rather, is what we're bringing in, right? We want to control our environment. That's why we use flash. If you're using a constant light, that can sometimes be a challenge. You might have to turn lights off, you might have to close the window shades, stuff like that. I mean, it doesn't hurt when using flash either, but with flash, you've got a little more power. So we're going to start off by setting our camera in such a way. This here is the Nikon Z6ii. I just picked up a new one, so I set my other one in to get serviced. I just picked up this new one, so if some of my settings might be off, we'll see where we're at here. But I've got the Nikon Z6ii with the standard kit lens, which is a 24-70. This is my general lens that I use for these things. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my camera at the lowest ISO within the normal range, which for this camera is 100. I'm going to set the shutter speed at the maximum shutter speed within the normal range, which for this camera is 200th of a second. And then I'm going to put my aperture at a space that it gets the room dark, basically completely black, or what we like to call the black frame. Now, I can see there's a mirrorless camera. I'm looking through it. I can see that it looks like that at 5.6 it's pretty dark in here. That's all you're going to want to do. If you're using a camera, like a non-mirrorless camera, you might have to do a couple of test frames or put it in live view, but if you just look through the camera, adjust your aperture until it gets basically completely dark. If I set it at f4, I can kind of see her as a silhouette. When I go to f5.6, she's dark. I will take a photo. I'm using Capture One over here, which I'll show you in a second. Did that work? Yes, it did. Okay, this is our frame. It is a black frame we can see here. If I go over here into my exposure slider and I start to move it over until I get Marissa appearing in the shot, that's about a stop underexposed. That might not even be enough. So I think I might actually go down to, I got new light bulbs. I've been shooting at 5.6 for the last couple of months. Yeah, I got new light bulbs that are brighter. So the space is actually brighter than it used to be. Weird, right? All right, so I'm gonna take another shot. And we can see here that it still looks black there, but if I start to drive my slider over, now we don't start to see her until almost 2 stops. That's really what we want. Okay, let's switch this here. Okay, so we've got the space so that it is about 2 stops darker than our subject, or than our camera's exposing, right? Which means that if I make a photo and I have to do some adjustment to my shadows or whatever in post, it's not gonna be a problem. I have space there. I also know that with none of my light involved in the shot, I have this black frame, which means that everything in the shot is done by me. If I put a light on Marissa and I see this light in the corner somewhere, or I see it on the background, or I see it on the floor or the ceiling, that's from me, whether I think it's not or not. There's been many times where you're in a space, you're lighting something, and you're like, what is that thing? And it's you, right? So be very wary of that. Nothing in the space, nothing in the shot rather that we create now is coming from anywhere but my light, which I'm about to use. So again, this is a Profoto light. They have a remote here, which they call the air remote. That's what I'm using. It's going to allow me to use what's called TTL metering. TTL means through the lens, which effectively means that the camera's meter is being used to establish the proper exposure. It's as simple as that, nothing too crazy. And again, I'm using a 24-70 lens here. I'm using live view right now. Again, if I make a shot now, it's just gonna be dark. So I'm gonna take my flash and I'm gonna place it where I think would be appropriate. Now, generally when you want something to be more moody, you want shadow. So unlike how I would normally shoot, let's say a beauty shot, although we can work with this, I'm not gonna put it directly in front of her. I'll put her off to the side a little bit. Let's get a little shadow on her face. There was this painter that used to do this a lot.
Who was that again?
I don't know. Yeah, sometimes people refer to him. Something. Rembert. Rembert the painter. All right, so I'm gonna put a sandbag on this, boom, like that. All right, so here we are, above her eye level, close to her, because we want light to be close so it wraps around. And we're gonna just see what we got for an exposure. Now TTL should give us a pretty close exposure. Oh, if it fires, I should probably turn the light on. Turning lights on is the first step to being a photographer.
Wow, so scary.
I know, it's weird, right? Okay, it's on now. There we go. Nobody noticed that. We'll just take that out in post. Don't worry about it, guys. All right, the light's on now. Let me do a test. All right, perfect. All right, here we go. Boom. It's so funny. The camera is set in the mode. There we go. Good. All right. There she is. Let me switch over to Capture One. All right, so the light's in the shot a little bit, but we can see we've got this real simple shot. It's kind of what we might call a nothing shot, right? That doesn't seem very nice. Give me 1 second, guys. Look at that picture. Enjoy it. I'm going to set up a picture-in-picture so we can keep this going so you can see me at the same time. Let's see if I can do this correctly. That seems right. And then I'm going to take this one and put it over there. You can't see what I'm doing, but believe me, something very exciting is happening here. I'm going to go like this. I'm going to hit save. Then I'm going to go like that. Perfect. Now you can see me, right? Okay. Let's go like this. Okay, so we're going to leave it that way for most of this so I don't keep screwing it up. We can see here this is kind of a nothing shot. It's very basic. Effectively, there's nothing here. If you want a shot with no mood, this is it, right? And why is that the case? We've got some shadow, right? A little bit of shadow to add some modeling to her face, but really it's mostly filled in. The light's pretty even. It's kind of gray on the background. There's really just nothing going on here that creates anything of interest. Not a happy mood, not a sad mood, not a joyous mood, not a melancholy, nothing. Okay. All right, quickly looking at the things here. Looks flat. What profile am I shooting? I am shooting the flat profile. There you go. Yeah, I always keep my cameras on neutral, if that's a question. I keep it on the neutral profile because I'm shooting RAW, and I will just add whatever I want. I don't care for the camera to tell me what it thinks is good. But even if I were to crank up the contrast, you know, the light itself is still very blah. We don't want to rely on this kind of stuff to make it better, because what it actually makes it is not better. It makes it contrasty, which is what Marissa loves, but Marissa's getting past that. I'm always learning new tricks. Old dog, new tricks. Okay, so here we are. The image is flat. It's not super exciting. What can we do to make it more exciting, right? First of all, part of the idea here is before we even start just moving lights around and stuff, we want to kind of consider what we're trying to create with our subject, because that's going to matter, right? Part of it is Marissa's just making a very neutral expression because I didn't ask her to do anything, right? This is what she looks like. Like if you're standing in the street, like if you saw Marissa walking down the street, that's what she looks like. She just looks like that all the time. She's just basically, boom, like a robot, right? So if I do this, am I gonna lose my picture in picture if I do this? No, I'm gonna try something, guys. Oh yeah, no, I think we're good. Hopefully I won't screw it up. All right, so yeah, we're very flat. So because I'm using this big light source, I purposefully use the light source that's very neutral. We can, of course, work with this light source and try to get ourselves a little bit more oomph. It's pretty close to her, so moving it closer isn't necessarily going to be the answer. But perhaps we can put it on an angle that's not going to be classically thought of as a flattering angle, because we have the ability with a flat light to do that. So if I were to take the light, let's say, and move it lower, right? We're just going to play around a little bit here. Don't make any notes yet. And what we want to do here is the lantern has the ability, you can probably see this. It's got this skirt that you can add to it, right? The skirt allows us to control where the light falls. I just have it in the back because I don't care about light behind me. But we can use it though to help shape the light a little bit. We can actually turn it so that more of the skirt is facing towards Marissa. So that what we're actually getting now is more light coming towards me, because if anybody needs light, it's me, right? And we're lowering the light to neutral with her. Let's just see what that does. We're gonna play around a little bit here. And one of the reasons why I'm doing this is because I get a lot of questions from people about, like, how do you determine what kind of light or whatever to use? And one of the most important things you wanna do when you get a new subject in front of you is to experiment. Okay, so we can already see, well, you can't because I didn't do this. We can already see that this light now has something going on. It might not be the something that you want, but there's something going on. Number one, we've added a bit more contrast, both because the exposure on her skin is still correct, but it feels brighter because the background is now darker. The background's darker because I feathered the light away from the background, right? The shadow on her nose is unusual because it's not in the right spot, which would be slightly above. We've lowered it to neutral. I'm not doing this kind of like, you know, old Hollywood movie lighting where it's like coming up underneath, or a horror movie lighting where you're not allowed to call it horror movie lighting when Seth's here. But that old kind of up in your face horror movie lighting. We're not doing that because that's so obvious, right? What we're doing though is we're lowering it, so there's something unusual about this light. And if we keep it right here and she's still neutral, it makes us question. But let's say, for instance, this doesn't have to be a bad unusual. This could be, it's the end of the day, right? And the light's lower in the sky, right? So now we have this more sideward thing. But how do we emphasize that in our photo? Here we can use color, right? I can make the color of the light warmer, which will then effectively do that for us. What I'll do here is I'll just quickly show you this is not what I would do, but what you can do, just to kind of see if you think that might work before you start doing a bunch of stuff, is just grab your color wheel, and we can just grab the white balance slider and just start moving it over and see if it looks good warm. Forget about the background for now because that just looks bad. We could add a little bit here. Okay, that's not terrible, right? So now we can say, you know what? we want her light on her to be a little bit warmer. So let's add a gel to the light. Now, if you have been lighting for a while, you're probably saying right now, Daniel, but if you add a warming gel to that light, and that light is the only thing in the photo that is doing anything, right? Because the black frame, won't the entire frame be warm? Yeah, it will. So why not just do it in the camera? Because we're going to add more lights. Okay, so I'm going to grab a gel. I've got this Profoto gel kit. I probably should have opened it first. I don't know what you're looking at anymore. You're looking at the pictures. That's good. All right, so I'm going to take this and I'm just going to put the gel. I've got a... I really should have made the cable come from the other direction, but... I've got these gels. I got them stacked right now, but you can see this is like a warming gel. That's probably too warm, but you know what? Extremes are how we make a difference, right? So we're going to leave the warm gel on there. I'm going to come over to the lantern. By the way, they also make pancake lanterns. And, you know, Seth would say that waffles are better than pancakes. But when it comes to lanterns, the pancake lantern is very nice. What it does is it's flatter. It's really made for lower ceilings, like when you're doing interviews and stuff. But what it does do is create a little bit more of an overhead style light if you want that look. So if we're going for something a little more dramatic, with this lantern it can be tough to get that really kind of like, I'll call it bad for lack of a better word, you know, overhead light, because it bounces around so much. If you want that, the pancake style lanterns usually work better. Okay, I like these ones because I feel like they're more gentle. And generally, Daniel likes gentle. Okay, so that's good. The gel's in there. I'm using through the lens metering, so I don't have to adjust my camera. I can just make another photo. And the whole thing should get warmer now. Oh. Well then. Something happened there. It could be that the light is maxed out. Let's just try again. I'm showing you this because when you watch YouTube videos with photographers, they always make a photo and it comes out perfect. Okay, yeah, so what's happening here is this light is probably at maximum power, or it's just very confused. Let's take a look. By the way, with the new remote they just came out with, no, it's not at maximum power. All right, turn it up. The new remote they just came out with, I guess you can see the power, which is kind of useful, I guess. I always say when people say you should be able to see the power on the light with the remote, I'm always like, why would you ever need that? Just then, that would have been nice. All right, I switched to manual. We turned up the power stop. It's probably still going to be a bit dark, but dark is good. Boom. Okay. As noted, really warm, right? And the whole shot is warm. This is interesting if you're a first-year college student. No, sorry, no, I'm just kidding. Wow. I love first year of college students. Okay, so this is fine. This is not necessarily the light I want to use on her face. It doesn't really do anything for us except make it really orange. However, what we can do with this is, the reason why it's so orange is I just left all the gels on there because I was trying to be extreme. So I think what we're going to do, so there's two ways to go about this. We'll survey the crowd. Now, a lot of times when you've got a client on the set and you make a goof up like this, right? You don't want to be like, oh, I screwed up. So I've got, you know, 300 clients of you. Should we just keep going and see if we can make this work? Or should we go back to use a normal amount of gel? Let me know what you think in the chat. Yes, pancakes are fantastic, Vic. Now I know that, let's go back here. I know that, keep going, all right. Normal. Oh, we got a vote for each. Make it work. French toast. Oh, also very good. Reset. Oh, what? 2 for 2. New Profoto triggers. Excellent. Yes. Good. And one more. Keep going. One more. If it's keep going, we're going for it. 10 seconds. 9 seconds. 8 seconds. Normal. Oh my God, it's a tie. Oh, keep going. They're neck and neck. All right, I'm gonna keep going. Keep it. I like the challenge. Keep going. Okay, we're going for it. I knew they'd say go for it. Okay, so we have now created a terrible picture, but we don't want to tell our client that we did that. We're like, no, I just wanted it to be moody.
Ooh.
So we have two options here. One is to, first of all, we can use, if we want to use this light as the key light, which would be very challenging, and that seems like that's what people want to do, we have to figure out how we're going to make that work. Number one, I think the trick here is not going to be to have so much of this orange light so far in front. I think that's part of the reason why it looks weird. I love the chocolatey colored background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my light source. I would move Marissa normally, but I don't really have a lot of space to do it. I'm going to take my light source and I'm going to move it further back, right? If I move the light source further back and I turn this lantern so that it's mostly coming forward, what we're going to get is, hold on, I'm probably too small here. Boy, all the work that Seth does. This is why we have Seth. Okay, so, plus he would make it work. All right, so we're going to turn this so that most of this light is coming in front of her, okay? I'll put the sandbag back on. And again, I'm going to do this step by step because I feel like if I just do it, then you're going to be like, what did you do? So we're going to do this, and what we're going to get is light coming from the back, right? See, now we're getting something going on here, right? Now, why is this weird orangey light coming from behind her? What's going on? What's this chocolatey thing back there? You can't see anything because I haven't flipped the picture yet. Okay, what's this chocolate? You know what I'm going to do? Hold on, I'm going to do one more. I'm getting pretty creative here, guys. Daniel's getting out of control. I'm going to do this. That way, when I screw up occasionally, you'll see. Oh, well, let me do it. Okay, I guess I can't. I'm not allowed to do that, apparently. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. You don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just going to say that let's do this a lot. Save. Okay, good. All right, so here we are. Now it's looking a little rough, right? What are we getting here? We're getting some interesting shadows kicked back from her cheekbone. And again, this is now our shadow light. We could bring it up a bit, and the only way we can do that, because we're maxed out power-wise, the only way we're going to be able to do that is if we, now we have to mess with the light in the space, right? I could change the camera settings, but if I do, we're going to pick up some of these lights. So let's not do that yet. Let's consider that that's basically our background light. And let's now add a second light. In fact, I kind of like the way that is, but I think I want it to be even more behind you. So I'm actually going to just move it back a little bit further. Okay. Dun, dun, dun. All right. And I like where it is as far as height-wise. I mean, I'll lower it a tiny bit. All right. Good. We're good there. We're going to move a secondary light in now so we can actually get some shape on her. And what we don't want to do is kill the front light, the light we have established. Right? We're already getting some kind of a feeling here. And if we just blast her in the front with light, that's going to remove that feeling. It's just going to be boring. So, see, I'm going to do this. See what I did there, guys? Now you can see the thing. Pretty good, right? Let me know in the comments below if you think that's good. Keep it up. All right, here we go. All right, so again, we moved it back. The light's in the shot. That could be interesting. Let's see what happens. It's probably not going to be interesting, but it's always good to have the light in the shot occasionally. Okay, you know what happened there? We'll just cut that out in post. Don't worry about that. All right, here we go. You didn't see it? Oh, yeah, you did see it because I did my new thing. Oh, interesting. Okay, I moved it back too far. That's what happens, right? I moved it back too far. Garbage. Lighting is a journey. You like that, right? Write that down. That's going to be the name of my book. You can look for that on Amazon. That's my book that I'm putting out. All right, so I moved the light back to where it was. I'm going to now add a light to the front. I'm not just going to add a hard light because you just saw what it would do. You got that. So I'm going to take my favorite light source, the Shimura Extra Small, Shallow, Silver Lined. I like to say the whole thing because it makes me sound like, did you ever see those? Oh, you didn't because you're too young. Does anybody ever see those Dean Collins videos? So Dean Collins is like the grandfather of all like dudes on YouTube doing stuff. He used to do these VHS tapes that were just amazing. But like he was clearly sponsored by like Vogan or something. and everything he would pick up, he'd be like, this is the Bogan f3 47.26293 flash. It's like, you know all that? I can barely keep my name straight. All right, so let's get a shot with, again, just the background light. Okay, we're closer to where we were, which I liked. Okay, you're probably gonna have to, yeah, okay, a little bit. Okay, that's good. Now let's bring in our secondary light and basically ruin it, and then we'll dial it back. Right, that's the key here. We're gonna turn on this light here. We're gonna put it back in TTL so we have an exposure. And what TTL is gonna do is give us that neutral, boring exposure again. But let's do that and see where we're at. This is, again, just a regular color temperature light. Right, and there we go, right? We're back. We're like, oh, look, every demo that you ever do about taking a picture of a model. Right? So, fine, right? That's glorious. That's a picture of Marissa. Okay. Now we know that's really, really too bright. So let's jump over here to our exposure slider and let's dial it down a bit. So we're barely picking her up, right? This is where we want to be, I think, to get this going. So here we are at 2.5 stops under. So the way we're going to do this is we know that our light in the back is set properly the way we like it, which is just full power, right? This one is 2.5 stops too bright. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my controller and I'm going to go to this light, which is the B light. I'm going to switch it to manual and I'm just going to dial it down 1, 2.5, and never do exactly a half. It's always best to do like 1.6. If you do things exactly at a half, the clients think it's too easy. You gotta like add a little math in there that they won't be able to figure out. Be like, oh, that's f3.257. You never want to just give them straight. All right, so now we've done that. Let's get in, again, I'm just shooting the one light. Boom, it's gonna be dark, we know that. Perfect, you can't see it, well, you can a little bit. First of all, that's a little better anyways. I think it's still a little bit too bright, but just because we're where we are, let's turn this A light back on. And let's see what we get when we combine the light. This is going to add a lot of warmth, but only to the one side of her face. Okay, still too flat. What happened? We tried to recover kind of a moody light with a natural light. And I find that people do this a lot with fill light. They get the thing where they want it. It looks cool. It's really cool. And then they're like, let's add a fill light. And this is what they get. And this is fine. I mean, you know, go on Instagram. This is like 80% of the pictures you see there. The other 20% have gels. I'm so perfect? Yes, I am. Chicago. Use the lantern, illuminated from the lamp on the bridge at night. Oh, that'd be cool. Lighting is a journey. Yes, exactly. That's my next podcast. There you go. All right, so we've ruined our setup here, right? You feel, see, everybody thinks that like I'm kind of flying by the seat of my pants. This is all scripted. What's our problem? What happened here? Why did it get boring? Why did it get blah? Again, because we came in with the original idea, and yes, it's a bit dark, of this here, right? This mood and this texture. And what we ended up with was a pretty shot again, because we're just filling her face with clean light. We can't do that if we want the mood, because the mood, the darkness, when you go into a nightclub or you go into a bar and you see this texture and light, it's what you don't see that it has the emotion and stuff. So we don't want to put the light there. What we probably want to actually do, this is going to blow people's minds. This better work now after I just said that, is put the light here. Okay, because we want our light to come from the same direction, but we just want to clean it up a little bit. So this light here, and I'm going to show you something now, because this might be easier for some people. We'll turn off the overhead lights, which, you know, it clearly didn't make it super dark in here, but if we And I'm going to go over here and put my live view. Wow, I'm so high tech today. I'm going to go over here and put my live view on, so you can kind of see through the camera. Okay. Now, this is confusing, but I'm going to turn off the flash. All right, so this is our shot, right? We have nothing at our exposure. If we turn on this modeling light in the back, well, great, I have to actually do it from here. Sorry. The A group is in the back, so I'm going to put the modeling light on, and we're going to put the B modeling light on as well. Okay. This is not in proportion, but okay, this isn't going to work. Okay, so what we're going to have to do here is, because the camera wants to give us, it's a mirrorless, right? So it's giving us the actual exposure. What we want to do is look at where these lights are falling on her face, which you can't really see. So this is an ineffectual demo. But what we want to actually do is take this light and feather it, so we're just, again, just getting that little bit coming across her face in the same direction. Okay. Let's take off all this foolishness that I just did, and let's just make a picture. Again, we are shooting for an exposure that is going to be dark and moody. So I'm going to take this B light, and I moved it a little closer. So I'm going to turn it down one more full stop. I'm going to switch this back so you guys can see what happens. And we're going to work our way towards something that's a little bit funkier. Okay. Okay, so now, but for those that are saying immediately, well, that didn't do anything, we can clearly see here that it did. So what we want to do now is work it up to the point where it'll actually start to give us what we're looking for. Now, it's just not bright enough for us, or it's not turned in enough, right? So you can do two things. Let's turn it in first to see how much of a difference that makes. I'm just going to literally turn the light like 5 degrees towards her. We'll take a shot like that. Okay, you see it's getting more on her face now. This now starts to look like a mistake, right? It doesn't look good because it looks like we missed her with the light, not like we did it on purpose. So let's turn it back to where it was, and let's now dial it up. This, by the way, is one reason why you might want more power. Now, I'm going up 2 stops because I want to show you extreme. Is because sometimes when you're lighting, you don't want to point the light directly at your subject. You want to do these things where, okay, like that's too much. And also, I'm not loving the shadow. So let's start to tweak this thing down. We're going to go 1 stop up from where it was. I'm going to take the light and I'm going to bring it up in the air more and towards her slightly. This light here, I'm actually going to move, I'm going to have the light come a little closer to her. You probably can't see me very well because I'm so small, but we'll just take a shot and then I'll show you what I'm doing. I'll jump in the chat in a second, guys. Okay, okay, good. Good, good, good. We're getting somewhere. Let me look at the chat for a second. Exactly. Cat's eyes, catch, so perfect. Dan, hey, Seth. Seth's here, kicking butt. Fill light needs to be warm. Why would I use, that's interesting. I'm not sure why you'd want to use a warm fill light on a warm key light. That doesn't seem right to me. And you like the catch. Okay, you like the catch light. Okay, so now we're getting what is effectively light that feels like it's natural, feels like it's in a space, feels like there's something going on. It's a bit dark in her eyes. It's not exactly placed where you want it to be. It looks a little dark on the stream, I think. It's a little brighter than this. I don't know if I can make it brighter. I'm just going to come in and make it a little brighter and capture one because I think you guys are seeing it darker than it actually is. Just so you get a little bit of a, all right, I'm just going to come up a little bit. I just raised my exposure and capture one temporarily. I'm not adjusting the camera because it's properly exposed. So this will just do it so you guys can see it. What we've got here now is what I like to call organic light. It's light that feels like it's real, feels like it's in a situation, feels like there's something going on. Now we can start to work with Marissa to create a mood. I'm standing here. Let's just take a second. I am standing here with Marissa in the most boring space in the world. It's a white space versus flatly lit. Nothing exciting going on here. We are creating mood and depth and feeling with a little bit of color and light that is probably, if you look in your textbook from 1974 that you always refer to when you're looking for those poses, this light is not there. This is light that feels real. This is light that you could put in a movie. This is light that has mood and feeling and texture. And that's what we're going for here. So just so you can see that, let's get back to it. And let's create something more final. I think I might want to add one more light, but we'll start here. We'll do a couple more like this. So let's get, you got the vibe. Marissa's got the vibe. You're kind of...
Serious?
Yeah, you know, she's like, you've landed in Brazil. You're looking for the man who stole your bank accounts. Wow, you're, all right. You know, do not steal Marissa's best bank accounts. And you haven't had a good meal in at least 4 hours. Wow, that's a 4-hour... All right. There you go. That's what happens when you don't feed Marissa. Texture, mood, feeling. Notice as well that this side of the background is slightly different tone than this one. That's because the lights are sweeping across. You can adjust that. I like that, and it adds a bit more realism. In fact, I want the background to have something else going on. So unfortunately, because I didn't take it out yet, it's going to take me a second to grab a light. Should do a 3 or 4 point lighting if you want to experiment with gels and color like this. Hold on. Should you do 3 or 4 point lighting as a beginner if you want to experiment with gels and colors like this? Interesting. So that is a good question. What do you think, Marissa?
I think,
should they do a 3 and 4 point lighting if they want to use gels?
Well, it depends.
How many lights did you use?
I use 2.
2. If you are experimenting with gels and learning, my recommendation would be to use 2 lights to start with. 2 lights, one with the gel, one without, to see how they interact. Then as you get a better feel for it, add a 3rd light. 2 with gels, 1 that is neutral. I don't recommend, unless you're really wanting to get really funky and you have a good grasp of color science, to use 2 gelled lights and no neutral, because what you'll end up with is mud. You want to be real careful about that. But yes, I would go with 2 lights to start with. Don't overcomplicate things when you're first starting with lighting. 1 or 2 lights is really all you need. Sun and golden hour, warmth through a window. You can use lights with, right, that's true. You can use gels with any number of lights. Haha, I know you're having fun with that. But the reality is that you don't want to, it's easy to look and be like, oh, we got to use a lot of lights because we want color. Sometimes we overdo it. And you really want to understand how color works together, or what you get is a situation where it looks like you're just trying to use gels, in my opinion. I'm going to leave the set like I always do. Marissa will entertain you with a poem. Well, I don't know. They probably can't hear you, so maybe you should like...
Summer's day, thou art sweatier and mustier.
Wow, okay. Well, this is the free-form poetry that you get when you leave Marissa. All right, I'm just going to throw another light in here, guys, to show you what we're going to get. All right, we won't do that again. We'll call that a failed experiment. All right, I don't know if you can see me over here. Can they see me? Could you see the thing? Am I in the shot?
Barely.
I will come over here.
Like right on the edge.
Okay. I'm going to use my data light. You've seen me use this a bunch of times before. This is a constant light source. You could also use another flash for this. I just think it would take me longer to set that up. Plus, I think it'll be easier to show you with this. Effectively, it's a focusable constant light. It's going to allow me to throw a little shadow on the background, and well, a little light on the background, which will then basically look like shadow. Where there's light, there is shadow. Okay. Because that's the other name of my... Okay. I muted myself when I coughed at my terrible joke. No, the other one was lighting is a journey.
Yes, that's great.
You like that one, right?
Lighting is a journey.
Lighting is a journey. We must make it sound more complicated. Oh, you know what? I have another camera. Hold on there, back at home where you don't see me. Can I do this? Oh, but I'll screw up my cool things if I do that. Is it worth it? I think it's worth it. Look at that. All right, I'm back here in the corner. This, again, this is a data light. This is not, now remember that when you're using constant light sources, compared to a flash, they're just not that bright. I mean, you don't want me to shine this in your face, that's for sure. So it's bright, but compared to a flash, this is just not. So we're going to want to, I'm also going to adjust the color temperature. Again, I want to make it neutral because what we definitely want to deal with here is when you are using gels, you want to have a lot of neutrality. Okay, and in my case, neutral is 5,000 Kelvin because that's what my camera's set at. So I'm going to make the light, this light 5,000. Okay, I'm going to dim it up a bit. I'm going to use the barn doors to just make a shape. I'm going to turn off the lights here so you guys can see better, hopefully. I really should have put that cord differently, but that's okay. I haven't tripped over it yet, so I think we're all right. All right, cool, they can see that. I'm going to put a little slash of light behind Marissa. Again, I only have a little bit of her in the shot. So we're just going to kind of come in here. I won't use a projector this time, at least not yet. But let's start with lighting the background. Like if I take the light and I do this, what it's going to become is probably just too basic and boring. But let's just take a look, because it's always good to be basic and boring. It is never good to be basic and boring.
You couldn't be basic. Try.
Well, thank you. All right, I'm going to look through my camera. Wow, okay. And I'm going to adjust, remember I turned the lights off in the space. I'm going to adjust my shutter speed. And the reason why I'm adjusting my shutter speed is because generally speaking, shutter speed does not affect, I should say, okay, let me actually say it properly. Generally speaking, when you're using constant lights, the shutter speed will just mess with those. It won't affect the flash. So this way I can get my exposure and I don't have to mess with my flash. So now I'm only at a 40th of a second. And I'm going to take a shot. I have the two flashes going, and now we've got this strip of light, which, again, actually, because I'm at a 40th of a second, I think we're picking up some of the light in the space. So this is just not very good, right? So we're like, we came from this, which was cool, right? And now we're here, and that's just not happening, right? Because what is happening here? We got a little bit too much light in the space because my shutter speed is so slow. And on top of that, the light is just nothing, right? And that's just because I just threw it on the wall. When we're going to add light, we need to think, why is the light there? What's the purpose? How does it help us? How does it not help us? So number one, let's go to this light and see, is it turned up all the way? It is not. So I'm going to turn it up all the way. That's going to allow me to close down my shutter more. Also, the closer you are to something, the brighter the light will be. So I'm going to move the light closer to the background because that's what I'm lighting. And the other thing I want to do is make it have some purpose, right? So I'm going to just put it on like one end of the background here and let it feather out a bit. You probably can't see this, I'm guessing, because I didn't switch to the other camera because I'm a slacker. Seth would probably, well, you could see it a little bit. Okay, so we can see what we did there. Let's take a look and see what this does for us. I'm looking through the camera. Okay, that's pretty cool. I'm going to bring my shutter back up to an 80th of a second. So basically a stop. Okay. And that's still really bright, right? It's like light creeping through a door from outside, but the problem is that why is the light so white, right? What is going on here? So what we can do now, you can't see anything. What we can do now is now we have all the room in the world to mess with this thing. So I'm actually going to bring my shutter speed all the way back up to a 20th of a second. We'll take another shot to establish exposure. Okay, better. And again, this is not bad, but I feel like it's too close to her shoulder. So I'm going to actually have her move this way. Yep, there we go. So it makes sense into my shot. I'm going to have you look closer towards the way, this way more. Yep, there we go. Mood, what's happening? Boom. Right? There we go. Now, what's happening over here? We're creating a scene, right? We're creating some movement. I still don't love that plain white. So I'm going to do the thing I said I wasn't going to do. And I'm going to use the projector. So the projector is effectively a means to throw patterns, right? So what we're going to do is just put a pattern on the wall so that we get or what we call a breakup. Breaking up is hard to do, but we're gonna do it. Oh, there's even one in here, and it looks like a window. There's a little tiny window. That looks absolutely terrible and foolish. We should totally do that. We should definitely do the most silly window ever first. All right, here we go. There's a window back there. It's very moody. You do not want to do that.
Tiny window.
What is this tiny window? You can't see it again. Boom. Okay. There's a tiny, tiny window. Tiny Window is Marissa's new album. All right, so we're going to switch that out. We don't want to use a tiny window. I just want to use what's called a breakup pattern. So I'm going to just select one quickly because everybody's sitting here watching online going, what are you doing, Daniel? This one here is just like lines. Oops. Hopefully I didn't break that. That would be incredibly unfortunate. What's cool about dropping it, though, is that the piece came out that I wanted. All right.
You did it on purpose, obviously.
Obviously, I did that on purpose. I'm not quite sure if people could see me or not when I did that. Huh, why is it not? Oh, I see. I see what happened. There we go. All right, well, might not be able to use this right now because I think I bent the piece and nobody wants to watch me unbend it. Okay, let's just see what happens. Huh, interesting. Okay. I'm actually gonna lock it on this time. See? All right. Now the only downside to these is that they are round. So sometimes that can be bad.
How come?
Well, because it'll just look too obvious. Nobody wants to be too obvious. Oh, but luckily the camera wasn't on. You just heard terrible smashing sounds as things fell to the ground. Brand new, old one is being serviced. Which one? Thanks. Well, want to switch to don't want to trigger for each camera system. Ah. What camera am I using? Yep, Z6. Okay, good. You guys are good. Thanks. All right, let's go back. You guys have got it under control. My chat is under control. All right, so again, now I've got to mess up my shutter speed again to get it where I want it. Let's take a peek. Probably gonna have to have you turn more the other way, but at least we can. Right, so now we've got something that has a little bit of shape and feel to it. Okay, it still is a little small for me, but you know, we can mess with that a little bit. And the fact that it's neutral, to me, works really well. I can put it a little bit more in focus. It's already turned up all the way, so I can't do anything there. We gotta make it a little. We'll go with this. In an attempt to not drop everything again, I'm gonna just leave it where it is because you know, we don't want to drop things. And let's see if we can get it a little bit more. All right, here we go. Let's have you work more this way so we get that good right here. Have them in fed. Boom. All right. Whoa. Problems. I think what happened there is my battery may have died because I was using this light earlier and didn't charge it because I didn't think it would take. I wasn't realizing I'd have to run it at full power for the whole thing. Yeah, I think that's what happened. All right, so intermission time. Marissa's going to tell another joke.
A joke this time.
All right, Marissa's going to tell a joke. I'm going to quickly get a plug. What's cool about the Profoto B10s is that you can actually run them off AC power.
Gosh.
Knock, knock.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
I don't even know they're really more than orange or banana.
Banana? But banana who? I feel like if Seth sees this, we're in trouble. we've resulted.
Like a joke, me and you doing this.
We've resulted to knock knock jokes. I apologize to everyone in the audience. We need to. All right, so anyways, Profoto B10, you can plug it in if you need to, which is what we're about to do. Lesson learned, do not do a live stream with your battery at only 25%.
It's just suspense. We're just building suspense.
I have never, ever in my life had the battery die on me in the middle of a live stream. How embarrassing. But hey, at least I get to be embarrassed with you guys, my friends. Okay, here we go. We're a little dark here. I'm gonna set ourselves up. Let's get a shot. That light should be back on. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Yeah, there we go. All right. Perfecto. Something is up. All right, let's see. Want to know where to buy an Adamas Ninja 5 in London? I have no idea. Seth's watching. Oh no. All right, so we're back in action here. I'm looking at this, I'm like, oh, it looks too bright, but that's because I raised the exposure for you guys. Let me go back and set up this picture-in-picture. Sorry, take me a second. There's probably a faster way to do this, which Seth will teach me at some point. Boom, there we go. All right, back. All right, so we've got some stuff on the background. Honestly, I think now that I'm thinking, after all that, I think this is my favorite as far as texture and stuff. So I'm gonna go back and set it up that. So basically what I did was, it was more out of focus, which is easy to do. And it was a little bit over there, a little bit kind of crooked. All right, I think we should be good here. Let's get a shot and see where we're at. I may move Marissa again, but for now we'll put her there. Boom, all right, yeah, I like that better. Okay, so we've got this now. We've got this texture. It's looking pretty again. What did you do, Marissa?
I can't help it.
She cannot help it. Something happened. The light is hitting. Yeah, I think you're too forward. Take a step towards me. Yeah. She's like, I didn't move the whole time, which is probably true. All right, here we go. I'm just moving her towards me to get a little different shadow pattern on her face. Yeah, there we go. Nope, go back. You were better before. It was me. It's me, not you. I think it's because I lowered this thing down and then raised it again. I put it too high. There it is. I'm gonna turn it like this. Okay. We may have reached that point of, you know how you shoot until it gets bad.
Yeah.
I think we've reached that shooting until it gets bad point, but we got to get back where it was at the very least. All right, here we go. Oh, I also can see two problems. One is that the modeling lights are on. Okay, and that's part of the problem. Here we go. Oh, yes. And then, okay, so the light's good on her. My composition is just bad now because of my situation. So I'm going to punch in. Good, good, good. Here we go. You're in Brazil. Long flight. Well, Portuguese is on my mind. I don't know why. Good. Nice. All right, let's see. Yes. When is Seth going to shoot and Daniel model? Soon. Perfect. Reset exposure in software. Yes, exactly. I have it raised for you guys. That is true. So the exposure should be more like that. You're just probably, when I'm looking at it online, it looks dark. So that could be why. I don't know. Maybe you think it looks good online. This is the proper exposure. You know, it's weirdly, maybe not weirdly. In the end, I actually think this is the best one. Yeah, it is. Okay. All right, guys. So here's what's happening. We have two things working against us here, and this is actually a good learning moment. Hold on. Let me. Time for a confession. This is my confession. Oh, I just crashed. Hopefully the stream's still going. This is my confession. That's R. Kelly, right? I'm not making this up, right? That's a real song. Daniel doesn't make up songs. I don't know what's happening. It keeps wanting to... There we go. All right, these are the same. So let me do this. All right, guys, instead of you watching me do picture in picture, I'll just do this. All right, so we have two things going on here. What's happening here is the light was nice and gooey and real and organic, and then I added this background light, which was pretty cool, but then when I wanted to add the texture and style to it, what happened was I had to make other adjustments to the camera. The sun is coming down in New York and it's shining through this window, making it brighter in here. So now I'm going to show you the pictures again so you can see what I'm talking about. So now what we're getting here is just an underexposed picture that doesn't look interesting. Whereas before we were getting texture and shape. So what's happening is I cannot mess up my exposure if I want that texture and shape. I've got to make a decision here. So I'm going to go back to the original setting and not worry about the background light for a second. I'm going to make a shot. Okay. Okay, this is definitely closer to where we were. What we want to do now is get this light on her the way it was, which is like this. Okay. Aha. Sometimes the world just conspires against you. Okay, now we're getting closer. That's getting punchier. Turn this like this. And what we're doing here now is I'm just finessing the light back to where it was. Hopefully you can see that in the little tiny camera. Yeah, there we go. Okay. So now, and again, I'll make it brighter again so people can see it. Now you see we have that messy light again that I like. The background light now seems superfluous to me. So what I'm actually going to do is I really liked it before. Sometimes you don't know what you like until, until it's gone. Right, Marissa?
Exactly.
Like you might be eating hot fudge sundae and think to yourself, I don't really like vanilla ice cream. But then when that hot fudge sundae is gone, you realize vanilla ice cream is pretty good when it's covered in hot fudge and whipped cream. All right, so I'm at 200th of a second, f8. We got the mood, we're Brazilian. Right, and now we're getting that messy light again. I gotta get a better composition, but you can see now we broke up the background. I think I'm gonna make it a little bit brighter back there, and I'm gonna do that by moving the light a little closer. Get a little closer. Okay. I'm just using the inverse square law here. I know you can't really see me. This is where we really miss Seth. That and the reflectors. He makes excellent reflectors. All right, here we go. This is the shot. Ooh, hold on. What's happening here? That sun coming through the window is killing me. All right, the sun coming through the window is really affecting my shot, and I hate to do it, but I'm gonna have to take a minute to do this. Sorry. This is what happens. It takes a lot to overpower the sun. And this little 250 watt second light with all the gels in it is not gonna do it. So what I'm doing here now, you probably can't see me, is I'm just oh, you know what? It's about to get hot. It's very warm in New York. I don't know what it's like in the rest of the world, but in New York currently, it is warm. Wow, it's so quiet in here all of a sudden. There it is. Okay. Whew. The sun coming through the window was really wrecking me here, guys. All right, so here we go. I'm going to come in a little closer. Get my better composition. Marissa's going to turn it on.
So what's my direction? I'm in Brazil. Right. What's my direction?
You're in Brazil, yeah. You've just landed in Brazil. You're on the lam, as they say.
I'm on the run.
Yep. She's on the lam in Brazil. Who's in Brazil that can take Marissa in? Hold on, let me turn the lights on here so I can see the focus better. Here we go. All right, well, no, there you are. You are on the lam. There she is, on the lam in Brazil. Let me know in the chat who's in Brazil. Throw a V flat in front of the window. That's exactly what I just did. With the stripy background, look good on her. I think the problem with the background is, at this point, is it was just being distracting from the story. Sometimes, you know, you're building up stuff, and I don't want to turn the picture, so you're looking at me really small. Sometimes you're building up a shot, and you're just like, I have gels, I have things, you do like a little dance, right? That's how we do it. You want to keep adding stuff to the shot, right, Marissa?
Yeah.
This is something that we all do. And you just keep dumping more and more stuff on it, and that stuff doesn't actually add to the story that we're trying to tell. Here, we've got a nice vibe. We go dark into a bright, into a neutral, into a dark, into a light. This is a very common technique in painting to move you across the scene. The light is dappled and a little bit shadowy, so it brings you in to want to explore. You know, Marissa, we don't have to make her eyes bulge out so people can see it from 20 miles away. The picture is intriguing, so they're going to get close and look at it. That's what we want here. We want to create a kind of a mystery. Now, sometimes that's not what you want. The mood you want is an explosion of fun, and you're outside and it's splashing water and stuff, and that's different. This is mystery, so we want people to slow down, take their time, and look at it. And that's, I think, what we achieved here. Huh.
I didn't know that about this.
Walking into a weird from normal space. Yeah, there you go. Oh, there we go. We got somebody in Brazil. We'll see you. Why did I put the background light on the left side? Well, I kind of explained that, but maybe I'll say it. So when you're creating depth and movement across your image, you often want to think about the idea of light to dark to light to dark. So if we look at our image, or dark to light to light, so if we look at our image from this side, we're light to dark to light to bright to dark. So we're moving across. If I put it on the other side, you would have all your light from one side, and this side of the image would just be dull, and that would lose some of the depth. That's the reason why. It's a balance. Yes, exactly. Balance is the short way to say it, and not 1,000 words like I just said. That's the reason why. And you know, it's simple. It takes a little bit to start to work out how that works for you, your style. You know, all these things kind of factor in, but what we want to do when we're creating a mood, the mood can be anything. Usually when you use the word moody, and I kind of went for it, was kind of a darker thing, a mysterious thing, because I think the most common thing that we all learn how to do is take the big smiley, happy picture. Oh, the mood is happy. But to get something that's a little bit deeper and make somebody stop and look at the image and say, like, what's going on here? That's really what we're going for here. And again, you can see now, we are standing in the most boring place in the world. It's literally a white wall in an empty studio, and all of that mood, all of that story, all of that texture was created with light. And that's the takeaway here. Also, don't drop your data light. That's it. So if you haven't already, go ahead and follow Marissa Roper. And I am Marissa Dot Roper, not Marissa Roper. We don't follow her. Marissa Dot Roper is who you want to follow. I mean, you can follow Marissa Roper too. I'm sure she's a nice person. Follow me, Daniel Norton Photographer. Make sure you subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. There's all kinds of videos like this one, and also good ones. No, no, nice short videos, instructional. I have over 300 videos on this channel. Plus, you've got all kinds of great hosts. They're doing more and more live streams on Thursdays, so keep up on the social media. You'll know what's going on. We are back in 2 weeks. And there's a rumor. Can I say the rumor?
Sure.
That Marissa's sister might be here. Marissa is the ugly duckling of the family. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Now it should just close, but Seth's not here to close it for us, so I have to walk over. Pretend like that was the end, and now I'm going to close. Oh, there's not an end thing. Oh, here we go. Is there a thanks for watching?
That was cool.
There we go.
Light dark thing. I didn't know that.
See that?
It's pretty cool, Daniel. That's pretty cool.